The scalpel has been traded for a sledgehammer, and the racing world will never be the same. For decades, Yamaha's Inline 4 was the surgeon's scalpel of the MotoGP grid, precise, smooth, and utterly unbeatable in the corners. But in a modern era defined by ride height devices and aggressive aerodynamics, that scalpel was being outmuscled by the brutal sledgehammers of Ducati and KTM. Yamaha was the last holdout, the final defender of a dying philosophy. But as Toprak Razgatlioglu rolled out of the Prima Pramac garage in Buriram, the silence of the old era was officially broken. The technical shift to a V4 configuration isn't just an engine swap, it is a total reimagining of how a motorcycle interacts with physics. The shorter, more rigid crankshaft of the V4 allows for a narrower chassis and a massive surge in horsepower, but it comes with a high price, a violent, twitchy character that punishes even the smallest rider mistake. Behind the garage doors, the celebration was replaced by the cold, hard reality of data. Inside the Buriram garage, the tension was palpable. This wasn't just a routine test, it was the high-stakes validation of a multi-million-dollar gamble. Early telemetry data showed a staggering increase in top speed, finally giving the Yamaha riders the ponies they had begged for over the last 5 years. However, behind the closed garage doors, the engineers weren't celebrating.
They were staring intently at monitors, watching as the sensors revealed a bike that was struggling to maintain its soul. The speed was undeniably there, but the legendary Yamaha handling, the DNA of the brand, had vanished. This was only the beginning of a far bigger storm. Yamaha didn't just need a new engine to compete with the Italians. They needed a specific kind of rider who could survive the transition. Enter Toprak Razgatlioglu, a man known to defy the laws of nature. Can a superbike legend survive the wall that has crushed so many premier-class dreams? Toprak Razgatlioglu, a 3-time world superbike champion, is famous for a riding style that looks impossible. He doesn't just brake, he violently forces the machine into submission, often balanced on the front wheel while entering a corner at 120 miles per hour. But MotoGP is a different world. The transition from the ply tires of superbikes to the hypersensitive Michelin rubber of the premier class is a wall that many legends have crashed into. For Toprak, the Buriram test was a trial by fire. He wasn't just fighting his rivals on the track, he was fighting the immense expectations of an entire nation and the skepticism of a paddock that wondered if a superbike guy ever truly adapt. As he completed his first intensive runs, the Stoppie King looked uncharacteristically human, struggling to find the limit of this new alien beast. Muscle memory is a dangerous enemy when you are trying to rewrite your racing DNA.
The V4 engine demands a specific V-shaped line, braking deep to the apex and squaring off the corner to use the massive power on exit. But Toprak's muscle memory was searching for the sweeping U-line of his old Yamaha R1. Every time he pushed the limit, the bike fought back with a vengeance. Rumors began to spread among the trackside observers like wildfire. Was Toprak's aggressive, acrobatic style actually making the V4's development harder for the Japanese engineers? But what the paddock discovered next shocked everyone. The drama wasn't just on the asphalt, it was in the very color of the fairings. The presence of the Prima Pramac team in Yamaha blue was a political earthquake. After years as Ducati's golden child, Pramac had walked away from the most dominant bike in history to lead Yamaha's satellite revolution in a move no one saw coming. Every slow lap was a weapon for the critics waiting for Pramac to fail in their new mission. In Buriram, the political tension reached a boiling point. This test was the first real moment where the Pramac engineers had to act as a secondary factory wing, processing vast amounts of data to find the ideal package before the 2026 homologation deadline. Management decisions were being scrutinized under a microscopic lens. Every slow lap from Toprak was seen by critics as a sign that Pramac had made a catastrophic mistake by leaving Ducati's side. Inside the garage, whispers of internal conflict began to surface as technical director Massimo Bardolini was seen in heated discussions with the crew. The focus had shifted from finding a fast lap to solving a much deeper crisis: corner exit acceleration. If the V4 couldn't get the power to the ground in Sector 3, it didn't matter how fast it was on the straights. The clock was ticking. The Thai sun turned the prototype into an oven, exposing the flaws of the high-speed beast.
As the Thailand sun pushed track temperatures to punishing levels, the technical flaws of the V4 prototype began to surface. The engine creates an immense amount of heat, and in the stagnant air of the Buriram backstraight, cooling became a critical, season-threatening issue. Engineers were seen frantically monitoring radiator temperatures and fuel consumption as the bike struggled to breathe. But the real drama was psychological. Toprak returned to the pit several times, his face flushed and his jaw set in frustration. He was conveying small, intricate details about rear tire traction, specifically how the bike behaved when the fuel tank was full. This is where most MotoGP races are won or lost. If the bike becomes a wild horse in the first 5 laps, Toprak would be a sitting duck. He wasn't just a rider anymore, he was a developer. A desperate search for stability led Toprak to demand changes that defied Yamaha's traditions.
Toprak began to take control of the development path, asking for the handlebars to be lowered and the ergonomics to be radically altered. He was seeking a setup that would give him more feel for the front end, a desperate search for the stability Yamaha had lost in their pursuit of raw power. He was working in parallel with his veteran teammate Jack Miller, but their datasets were worlds apart, making collaboration strained and difficult. The twist that followed would change the championship narrative entirely. In the afternoon session, the team attempted to deploy a new electronic mapping package. The goal was simple: smooth out the violent power delivery of the V4 to prevent the wheel spin that was eating the Michelin rear tires. But in the world of MotoGP, simple doesn't exist, and the machine was about to strike back with its own complex digital defiance. A disaster in the electronics room sent the Yamaha project into a tailspin during golden hour. Reports from insiders suggested that the new mapping caused a major hiccup in the electronics, forcing Yamaha to halt testing for nearly an hour. In a preseason where every minute of track time is worth its weight in gold, this was a total disaster. Toprak sat in the back of the garage, shielded by his dark visor as mechanics swarmed the bike. The media criticism was starting to mount to an all-time high. Public narratives were shifting from Yamaha's rebirth to Yamaha's nightmare.
Paddock whispers menyatakan that the V4 project masih terlalu baru dan pabrik Iwata mungkin mensubestimasi kompleksitas transisi teknis ini. Tapi just saat matahari mulai terbenam di belakang grandstands, Toprak did something yang menyuplihkan semua kritik di pit lane. He decided to throw the data out the window and ride by pure instinct. Purple sector stand smoking tires, Toprak finally unleashed the animal inside the machine. With only 30 minutes left on the clock, Toprak Razgatlioglu would knock out. He didn't look for a safe setup or tire longevity. He went for broke. On his final run, the telemetry showed something staggering. He had stopped trying to ride the V4 like a Yamaha and started riding it like a weapon. He was sliding the rear into the corners, using his superbike style to force the bike to turn where the engineers said it couldn't. The lap times began to drop instantly. Sector 1 purple, Sector 2 personal best. In the final sector, where heat and wear were at their worst, Toprak remained aggressive, controlling the wheel spin with a surgical right wrist. When he crossed the line, the garage erupted. It wasn't a lap record, but it was a declaration. The V4 wasn't just a fast engine. In the right hands, it was a threat to the world order. The gap is closed, the beast is hungry, and the rules of MotoGP are being rewritten in blue. As the lights dimmed over the Chang International Circuit, one final detail surfaced that left the paddock stunned.
Inside the Yamaha telemetry room, a single data point was highlighted. Toprak's top speed was within 2 kilometers per hour of the factory Ducati. The power gap had been closed. The billboard of an inline 4 was gone, replaced by the aerodynamic arrow of the V4. Yamaha had finally found the speed they needed to fight. But the question remained: could Toprak maintain that intensity over 25 laps without destroying the tires or himself? The world will find out in just a few weeks at the season opener. One thing is certain: the Stoppie King hasn't come to MotoGP to participate. He has come to conquer. Yamaha has one more secret hidden deep within that V4 engine, and it's a secret that will leave the entire grid stunned when the lights go out for real.